They do not have any idea how we feel when we get up in the morning after being sleep deprived. I knew this would happen. And they don't know how hard we've worked to have what we have. We were two very young people starting with $500 when we got married. And we worked very hard to have what we have, to allow an industry to come in and devastate our lives. If we were to sell our home, we would be putting another person in harm's way. Because if we are having health issues because of the ramifications from the wind turbines, then we would be putting somebody else in harm's way.
But they did offer to buy us out, and we showed them our appraisal, and their words were, "That's too much for this area." So our hard work, more or less, wasn't worth what they thought.
Our bottom line is
Leave the ordinance.
and turbines need to be further away from residential communities. Our home is approximately 1,640 feet, and that is way too close to be near a home.
February 8th, 2014. No windmills running. It's about the only time I come outside anymore.
We're Tammy and Joe McKenzie from Glencoe, PA. We live between Somerset and Cumberland, Maryland. Behind our home houses 68 wind turbines. And ever since the startup of the turbines, our life has been in turmoil due to the noise and the shadow flicker that is created from the wind turbines. And we wanted to make a video so that people would not have to be disturbed in a manner that we have been disturbed due to the issues and the problems that the wind turbines cause for us. Oftentimes, communities are approached by the wind industry to house a wind turbine on their property. And with that, they are given money in return for their lease. And with that, a lot of people they have a gag order placed on them so that they can't talk about the issues that are associated with the wind turbines. For us, we believe that our story needs to be put out there so that people know exactly what's going to happen, because had we known the ramifications of the wind turbines in such close proximity to our home, we would have had a choice to maybe voice our opinion in not wanting them to be placed so close to our home. But we did not feel as though we were going to have an issue with the wind turbines. There have been so many farms placed in our county that not too many people complain. We have heard of people complaining about wind turbine problems, but we, not being close to them, have said, oh, what should be the problem? There shouldn't be a problem with them. But now, living so close, we do realize that there are problems. We are unable to enjoy our home in the morning hours. We usually have, at the peak, an hour and a half of shadow flicker in our home. Joe usually goes to the basement so that he does not have to look at it. It can be on a nice sunny day and the sun coming up, it can be pretty intrusive. we were finding that we were having problems sleeping at night and staying asleep, and we did our own research and we consulted our own expert to do testing in our home for what is called infrasound. And with that testing, it's found that our home has very high levels of infrasound, and that can also have health implications on people, because it's noise that you do not hear, but it can cause vibrations within the body. So many nights, neither one of us sleep, and the first question that we ask each other every morning is,
how did you sleep?
How much sleep did you get? Did you sleep last night? And there are nights when we do sleep that when you wake up in the morning, you feel as though
exhausted.
You didn't get any sleep, because I guess your body is just being attacked so much from the vibrations. The World Health Organization recommends a minimum of indoor noise at 24 decibels and a maximum of 40 decibels. I also talked to a acoustical engineer. I've talked to several over the past couple years, and he commented on our noise ordinance at 50 decibels was on the border of criminal. My ENT doctor that I recently visited told me that I looked chronically fatigued when I walked into the office, and that he is treating 2 other people who live under wind turbines with same problems associated with ears that I have been suffering. We have spent our life savings and our fortune building our home. We purchased our property in 2004. We have built our home with our own 2 hands to save money, so that we would be able to actually build the home of our dreams. And now, with the problems associated with the wind turbines, we are contemplating selling our property. We did have a for sale sign on our property, but we don't feel that we can give it up because of all the hard work that we have put into building our home. The other reason we did purchase or build our home on our own was that we wanted to be able to have a home that was well constructed, that would last the rest of our lifetime. My husband and I took the time to be very meticulous in how we built our home. We used 2x6 walls. We have
6 inches of insulation, an inch of foam, house wrap, plus 2 inches of wood for siding, which the walls are probably about 8 inches thick, and the noise still comes through. And the windows they offered to put new windows in our home and blinds in our windows to keep the shadow flickering out. But our windows are top of the line. I mean, nothing can be done.
At our own expense, we obtained an acoustical engineer to do some testing in our home due to the problems that we were having with sleep deprivation. We just didn't know what was happening to our bodies since the inception of the wind turbines. So his conclusion to the testing for infrasound that was performed in our home states that the infrasound from the wind turbines near your home is sufficient to exceed the 60 decibel threshold at which people will consider the home to be unlivable and vacate or sell it on a regular basis. At other times, the tones can be in the 50 to 60 decibel range, which is also associated with symptoms, but at a level where coping seems possible. In his opinion, the infrasound from the wind energy project turbines is strong enough inside the home to result in adverse health effects and potentially a decision to vacate the home because of these adverse effects. We did obtain legal counsel, And the conclusion of the legal counsel's opinion was that we would only be able to obtain, or not obtain, we would only be able to recover the value of what our home is if we were to go into litigation. It was our decision not to pursue that because the money that we would receive if we won a case would not in any way, shape, or form be enough to cover up what was happening to us. It's not going to make it go away. So we decided that why put ourselves through more stress and more anguish?
Money's not the answer.
It's not going to help us. So many of the people who live out the road from us are either receiving money as a leaseholder or they're receiving money as a non-participating leaseholder, but they are in what's called the county setback radius. And with that, they are not allowed to talk about any problems associated with what the wind turbines have created for them because they are getting money, and a gag order has been placed on them with the lease that they have. They've signed their life away pretty much. But we want to get our story out there to let people know that once they're up, they will never go away. You can fight all that you want. They will never be shut down.
They'll be there forever.
So you need to make a decision up front on how much research you really want to do to save your property and to save everything that you've worked for. In our quest to find answers of why we were being so sleep deprived and what could possibly be happening to us, I contacted an environmental health epidemiologist in Harrisburg, and his comments to me were that he did not have regulatory authority over wind turbines. And I explained what was happening to us. I also sent the copy of the infrasound testing to him, and his comment was that the township should have never allowed a wind turbine next to our home in the first place. They knew that there would be people living there and there would be noise and there would be health implications. But he was not able to help us. He asked that I go back to the township. When our noise study was performed to determine whether the turbines were compliant with the township agreement, one thing that was missing was called the SCADA data to compare the noise study with the wind turbine. This would determine as to whether the industry was manipulating the blades while the study was performed. So this is a recommendation that if a noise study were to be performed, they would need to provide the SCADA data with the noise study to prove that the blades were not being manipulated.
And make sure it's done in the wintertime.
Yeah, we were told the more noise, or I'm sorry, the more wind, the more noise that the turbines would make. Our noise study was performed in May and June of 2013, so it was not in the peak wind season.
But they also told us that it doesn't matter when they did it. The turbines make the same amount of noise, and I disagree 100% because we live here. We know how bad it is in the wintertime. It's 10 times worse in the winter than it is in the summertime. In the summertime, we can tolerate it. In the wintertime, no. We're in the process of purchasing a tiny piece of ground. It's only 1/3 of an acre. And we're planning on moving in the winter. Get out of here.
And that's put a financial burden on us. It's not something that will happen overnight. Of course, we're going to have to build a livable space to live in. It's just a piece of property at this point. So financially, we are again facing more expense because of the turbines. They do not have any idea how we feel when we get up in the morning after being sleep deprived. I knew this would happen. And they don't know how hard we've worked to have what we have. We were two very young people, starting with $500 when we got married. And we worked very hard to have what we have, to allow an industry to come in and devastate our lives. If we were to sell our home, we would be putting another person in harm's way. Because if we are having health issues because of the ramifications from the wind turbines, then we would be putting somebody else in harm's way.
But they did offer to buy us out, and we showed them our appraisal, and their words were, "That's too much for this area." So our hard work, more or less, wasn't worth what they thought.
Our bottom line is
Leave the ordinance.
and turbines need to be further away from residential communities. Our home is approximately 1,640 feet, and that is way too close to be near a home.
February 8th, 2014. No windmills running. It's about the only time I come outside anymore.